All right. Well, we are right about that time now. We'll start rolling. I appreciate you guys all joining me today. Give me just a quick second here as I start sharing our presentation deck. All right. So, Linda, thank you. Another Laker fan. Good to see it. Good to see it. Huntington Beach. Glad to have you guys. So, here's what we're going to do today. Just some quick details we want to go over. That chat area that we were just in, where you guys wrote where you guys are listening or watching from and your favorite NBA basketball team, we're going to use that section at the end when it is question and answer time. I'll actually have a slide up that has a Q and an A, and that's when you guys can start asking questions. Through the presentation, I would request that no one asks questions during it, because I get a little alert every time somebody pops something up in there. So from here on out, I'm going to ask that you guys can please no longer use the chat area. And again, we will then go back to that at the end of it during the question and answer session, so I can start reading off those questions and doing my best to answer them all. So as we get started here, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jason French. Obviously, I am a team member here at FieldLevel, and a proud one at that. I've been here for just about 2-3 weeks, over 2 years. So been an exciting time. Love this company, what we do, our goals, where we stand in this sport, in the sports world, how we're truly trying to help both athletes and coaches. It's an honor to be here, and really an honor to get to talk to you guys today. With that, my experience, I came into FieldLevel as a longtime high school football coach. I've been coaching for a long time in the Los Angeles area. Fortunate to be a part of a couple of championship programs. I've gotten to coach 50+ current, former college football athletes, and a couple guys that have moved on to play professionally, both in Canada and also in the NFL. And then lastly, I'm with USA Football as well. I do some part-time stuff with them throughout the year. Actually, just this morning, I was in downtown Los Angeles doing a camp with USA Football, the NFL, and the Los Angeles Rams, which was a lot of fun. Got to do a lot of fun little skills and drills with some young people. So good time. So I say all that in my intro to let you guys know that I've been doing this for a while. I've been in high school sports for a while. I've actually, most of my years coaching high school football, I've worked full-time in each campus that I've been at. And so I've gotten to be around all the kinds of athletes, all male, female athletes, all the different sports, worked with all the coaches, college recruiters, the whole nine. I've been in it for a while. So you're getting somebody with some decent experience behind them. All right, so today our topic, and it's a new one for us, and I'm glad you guys are joining, is building your athlete's personal brand. So obviously many of you joining today are going to be parents, but hopefully you guys, either if your sons and daughters weren't in practice right now, we're able to have them along with you. If so, that's great. If not, we're gonna record this so you guys can show them this when they have opportunity to watch this. You could also move this along to your friends as well. We upload this stuff tomorrow on our education series page. You guys take a look at that later. The reason why we're doing this today is because we know that it's so important for what athletes and how athletes are presenting themselves to the public, whether it's college recruiters, other people that are watching, maybe future fans of theirs from the colleges that they're interested in going to. We want to make sure that athletes are really putting their best foot forward in this, and we know it's a huge part of this comes in the recruiting process, where college coaches will look at athletes' social media, they'll look at interviews, they'll look at, they'll interview teachers and coaches and administrators about what kind of young person that they're looking to recruit, to know that they're making a wise investment of who they're bringing into their school. So with that said, that's why we're doing this today, and hopefully it'll be a good educational moment for you guys, and then also ultimately for your athletes. So first, I want to talk about FieldLevel really fast. This isn't going to be much about FieldLevel, but I want to get that stuff out in the beginning, and we're going to move forward. So when it comes to FieldLevel and just overall making your brand look good is details, attention to details. So within your FieldLevel profile, make sure that your athletes have a profile picture on there. It just shows that they're paying attention to detail. Whether it's a headshot, whether it's an action shot, make sure that profile picture is in there. Complete the entire left-hand side of the athlete's profile. All of the questions we ask, all the items that we have in there are all very important, whether it's grades, whether it's hobbies and interests. It's all very important in there. We ask you to fill it out not the time to get into detail on it now. We have other webinars about it, but please make sure that they're filling all that out. I have academics there in capital letters and in parentheses, because an athlete cannot be recruited if that coach can't see what their academics are like. So make sure that their GPA, SAT, ACT is on there if they've taken it, and then make sure that their academic transcript is on there as well. A college coach might be dazzled by seeing a 4.0 GPA in the GPA section, but they need to be able to prove that by the official academic transcript. So make sure that's on there. Lastly, make sure you guys have film on there. An athlete will also not be recruited if they can't be seen, so make sure that the film is on there. And because film is so important for an athlete to be noticed on our platform and noticed in general, I made a whole slide here for it, and I'm going to go real briefly over this. Make sure that the athlete's film is 5 minutes or less. Beware of the music that is attached to the film. Remember, college coaches, these recruiters, they can watch this film on their phone. They can be in line at the grocery store. They could be at a hospital. They could be waiting in line at the bank. Who knows what they're doing, but they can be in public areas where if an athlete's film comes on with music on and their volume's up and there's some offensive language or some offensive lyrics, it could be a little dicey. That could turn them off. We don't want coaches to be turned off by any way, shape, or form by an athlete, so make sure that the music is appropriate. Next, make sure that within your film you're showcasing a full range of ability of the position that you want to play in college. Let's just use basketball as an example because we used it earlier in our intro. If you're a shooting guard, don't just show you being able to shoot three-pointers. Make sure you're showing that you can shoot mid-range jumpers. You can go to the rack. You play defense. You can pass the ball. Make sure you're showing all the skills that are required to play your sport and specifically your position. I do have a in-detail webinar about how to build out great film for college coaches to watch. You can find that on our education series page at your convenience. And again, not want to go into detail today because again, we have a past webinar for you to go see that. So as we start moving into just the broad strokes of building a great brand for your athletes, I first want to touch on the fact that college coaches will not just recruit a young person because they're good at the sport. They need to recruit the entire individual, the whole person. And so they need to learn about that whole person. And they're going to use everything at their disposal to learn more about that young person as more than just an athlete. What are they like as a person? What are they like in school? What are they like with their friends? What are they like as a leadership role? What are they like in the weight room or off-season conditioning? What are they like in the meeting rooms? Not just how do they play when the lights are on or when the game is being played. So it is very important that we start thinking about showcasing an athlete's full range of who they are to college coaches in a multitude of ways that they're able to be seen. So first, we're going to talk about social media, okay? Probably the most popular thing, something that, all of us as parents, or I'm not a parent, but I'm probably close to some of you guys in age, and we didn't have this issue when we were kids, right? We go out and we do something that was a boneheaded thing to do, or say or do something inappropriate. Oh, guess what? We said it in our classroom, we said it on the playground, no one remembered it, 2 weeks later, and we were off and running. But when you post something on the different social media sites that are out there now, that stuff stays. And it is, you can be, the government can probably find ways of seeing what you Google, your Instagram handle, your Twitter handle, those things can be researched and gone back to. People can take screenshots. So it is very important to start, as we talk about branding, to really talk about this whole branding concept. And again, we're going to start with social media. And I've got the core social media channels on the right-hand side here before I get going. Some of you may not know what that top one is. That's a platform called TikTok. That is a very new platform. It's a Chinese-based platform, but it is getting a lot of steam here in America, and a lot of kids are using it. So that's TikTok. The one underneath that is Snapchat. The core behind that is athletes or people in general are able to take pictures or videos. They post it to their feed. They post it to people. And the concept is it kind of disappears. But again, people can record that. People can take screenshots of that and hold on to that information. So it's not as safe as you think. Again, it doesn't just disappear. People can find ways of recording that. Next underneath that is Instagram, probably something you guys are all very familiar with. Then Twitter, Facebook is kind of more of an older age group thing. Not a lot of young people are using Facebook nowadays, but it's still out there. And then YouTube is underneath that, as there has just been tons and tons of people that have found ways of becoming successful and famous off YouTube, and also the other media channels that we have on the right-hand side. So here are a couple things that young people think like or have in their mind or say when it comes to social media, okay? Hey, bad things don't happen to me. I'm invincible. You know, it may have happened to that one person or that other person, but you know what? I'm smarter, I'm cooler, I'm better at this sport. It won't happen to me. Athletes, young people will respond emotionally to a post or a picture or someone trying to rib them or troll them. They'll respond with their ego instead of just thinking things out. There's many examples of people, celebrities, politicians, athletes that have said things on their social media platforms at a young age, and it comes back to bite them when they're a professional, when they're in college, or right when they're hitting a part in their life where there are a lot of successes coming their way, a lot of notoriety. All of a sudden, someone digs up some post from 10 years ago that they're now being accused of thinking the same thing now than they were 10 years ago. So being very careful about that is something we'll talk about today. And a rule of thumb that I like to live by as a coach with my athletes, and again, as a coach myself, I love coaches, and I try to do this myself, of having very simple rules for my athletes that encompass a lot of areas. And one of those favorite rules that I like is this rule of thumb here. And we'll use it when it comes to social media or what athletes are going to do or say in their lives. When they're about to do something, when they're about to post something, when they're about to type something, ask themselves, will it embarrass my family? Will it embarrass my friends? Will it embarrass my school, my team, or my coach? If the answer is yes to any of that, probably a good idea not to post it. So that's a good basic rule of thumb to ask themselves before they send things. Because guess what? You know, if you think all the way through, if they're going to post something that won't embarrass their friends are going to love it because their friends are a bunch of young people as well. They all might think it's funny, but it'll embarrass their family, it'll embarrass their coach. Probably not a good idea. Maybe their team will love it. Maybe the coach will love it, but maybe the school won't be so happy about it being posted. Maybe a good idea to think twice about posting that picture or comment or responding a certain way on social media. So that's a great rule to live by. So when it comes to social media, some do's and don'ts. Don't be on everything. Don't be on all 6 of these platforms. Be on 2 or 3. Find the ones that are most impactful for you as a young person or one that they like the most, and stick with that. So we recommend that you guys aren't on all of them. College coaches, again, will go on there and they're going to start hunting you down. They're going to start finding your pages. They're going to start judging you and evaluating you based on these things. If they see that you're spending time on every single one, they're going to wonder, how do you have time for school? How do you have time for sports? How much time are you really putting into, you know, learning how to do different things within your skill set or within your position? How are you improving as a young person if you're spending so much time on social media? Be careful of who you follow. Lay down with dogs, wake up with fleas is a common phrase and concept that some people live by. Whether it's right or wrong, it is something that some people abide by. Make sure you're careful of who you're following. The comments, make sure of what you are saying in other people's comments. If somebody writes something and you respond back to them, what are you saying to them? How are you responding to them in these comments? Is it positive? We'll talk about that in a minute. But these are things to be cognizant of within social media. What you retweet or what you are sharing, once you do it, you own it. So somebody else can post something controversial or has explicit language or has some kind of an issue behind it. If you retweet it, if you post it, that is now basically coming from you. So even though you're just saying, oh, I thought it was funny, so I reposted it, it is now yours. And so you kind of own it. And so people are going to attribute that to you if they find it on your platform. So make sure that your athletes are knowing. If they retweet it, if they share it, it's on them. They basically own it. Captions on posts. This is mainly for Instagram. They're going to post a picture. They're going to post a video. What's the caption going to say? You know, what is it going to say? Is it going to be self-gratifying? Is it going to be arrogant? Is it going to be mean? Is it going to be nice? Is it going to be funny? These are things to think about and being careful of on your social media. And then your music, choice in posts. It can be on Instagram stories. It can be on videos. It can be on all kinds of things on your Snapchat as well. Make sure that the music again is appropriate. And again, hey, I grew up in the 80s and 90s on the West Coast. I lived on West Coast hip hop and rap. So I mean, I'll tell you what, not all the songs Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac were playing had appropriate lyrics. So it's not like I'm not listening to some of the same stuff with some of the same language that the athletes are listening to now. But we have to make sure that it is posted in the right way, consumed in the right way. And so those college coaches aren't judging an athlete based on that, or watching film, or watching an Instagram post or a social media post in a public area, and that music comes on. So again, be aware of those things. Some things when it comes to posting that take into consideration. Post positives. Do they volunteer? Are they encouraging others maybe within posts? Are they pursuing academic excellence and posting about that? This isn't a faith conversation, but if they have a faith, if they are part of a church community or some kind of other religious or faith-based community, are they a part of activities there? Maybe they want to post that. What about their friends? Are they posting stuff with their friends? Are they showing that they're not just an individual, but they're out there with their friends, their teammates? Are they posting things about their family, showing that they love their family, that they're committed family members? And then also athletic achievements. How do they post it? Is it gratifying for themselves? Is just kind of showing off an honor achievement that may be to a point, being able to also highlight other teammates and other coaches and people that were a part of that success as well. So again, we want to focus on posting positives on your social media platforms. Next up, to move away from social media is just overall media. So being prepared for the media is extremely important. So first, work with your coaches on to formulate how you can answer basic questions that you may be asked by different media members, whether you play club, whether you play high school ball, whether you have media members at these events, whether they're newspaper reporters, radio reporters, people that do local television shows, whatever that is, make sure that you work with your coach to go through the kinds of questions that they may ask you. And I've got a funny little story on that. And that's my little emoji there. We thought that might be funny with a book, kind of story time from me. So a quick story with this, and to make sure that you guys are on point. In college, one of my college teammates was interviewed by a local newspaper. And the local newspaper asked my teammate who played offense, asked the offensive teammate, hey, what's going to happen this week? Big game. What are you expecting to happen in this week's matchup? And the athlete said, my teammate, and tried to say this in the nicest way possible, he said, we think the other team's pretty good, and it's going to be a shootout, and the best team is going to win, and probably the team with the ball last will probably win the game. So to you and I, right off the bat, that doesn't sound too offensive. But when my coach got a hold of that quote, he lost his mind. Because what wasn't said in that, but was insinuated in that comment, in that quote, was that it's going to be a shootout and the team with the ball last is going to win. In essence, saying that our defense wasn't going to be able to stop their offense, and thus we had to keep matching them point for point in order to win the game, and whoever had the ball last would win. So my coach lost his mind, basically screaming at the fact that our athlete, our teammate, didn't have our defense's back, and saying that it would be a shootout. There are little things that might go right over an athlete's head, but important to go over with their coach, so when they have that opportunity to showcase themselves as a poised person in front of a camera or a microphone, or even just getting a recorded and it'll be typed out on a newspaper, or maybe an online newspaper forum, that they are speaking to the right things, they're saying it the right way, making sure to share the credit, give credit to everybody else instead of taking it on their own, and being able to show that they're great teammates and knowledgeable about their sport. So very important to work with your coach about those kinds of questions. If you have an athlete that's maybe one of the stars of the team, make sure they're working with the coach that they're prepared for those interview opportunities. Next, be prepared when you have the opportunity to meet a coach in person. Again, it may not be a brand that you're building on a phone or on a camera or on screen or in print, But building that brand of just who you are, how you present yourself, is always a way that you're going to be representing your brand as an athlete. So next up here is meeting college coaches. Make sure you're teaching your athletes how to shake their hand and look them in the eye. Firm handshake is a big deal. Like I said with USA Football, I'm traveling around the country doing lots of clinics for coaches. And one of the things we talk about in these clinics is teaching your athletes life skills within football practice. And my best one that I always share is teaching the young people how to give a proper handshake. It goes a long way, not only in meeting new friends, in meeting significant others, in meeting your prospective job, and meeting potential college recruiters. Making sure that you can shake a strong hand is very important. It shows that you guys know what you're doing, you're confident, and that's something that you can move along to your athletes. Make sure that you guys have you have something prepared to say to those college recruiters. If it's a school that you're truly interested in being part of, make sure you have something thought out and prepared to say, so you know about that school. If it's not a school you're interested in, make sure that you show yourself in a way that shows that coach you can handle yourself, because you never know when that coach is going to be somewhere in your life. And so my example on that is college coaches are bouncing around all the time, school to school, program to program. And so if you shake a coach's hand, you give them a limp handshake, you barely say hello, you don't show much interest, that coach may remember you and get a job at the current college you then go to and get to become your coach and already has an opinion on you, the athlete. But if you take care of business every time you're meeting with a new coach, they're going to have respect for you, whether you want to go to their current program or not. If they end up being at the new program that you're at, they're going to have a good rapport with you. They're going to think well of you going into it, which could lead into some good things like team leadership, better relationship, more playing time. Next up here, how are you building your brand on campus with administration, coaches, counselors, and support staff? And I've got a quick story on that as well. I was coaching a young quarterback at a school. It was a private school. It was a K-12 private school in the Los Angeles area. And the athlete came in to meet with me. And we were going to go through film. We were going to go through some stuff on the whiteboard, get him ready for practice that day, ultimately for that week's game. He comes in and he abruptly just asked the secretary in the office, so our support staff, to come find me, Coach French. Where's Coach French? He's in his office. Doesn't say anything, doesn't say thank you, doesn't say hello to begin with, and just walks right into my office. So after I'm done with the meeting, this young person leaves, and this support staff comes up to me and says, hey, get that young man I think you should know. Came in and was pretty rude. He was very abrupt. He didn't say hello. He didn't say thank you. He was just off-putting. So that was the key to me to then go to that athlete, who, by the way, was a very nice young man. He just wasn't taught this. So I had the opportunity as a coach, and you guys have the opportunity as parents, to teach them these life skills. How to say hello, how to say thank you, how to look people in the eye when they're asking for something, how to have a smile on their face, how to present themselves to the support staff and teachers and coaches and administration of the school is going to be very important, because many college coaches are going to go looking for other people besides the coach to have a conversation with regarding that athlete. Because again, these coaches, whether they're giving a full financial aid scholarship package, or they're just giving a partial scholarship package, or just taking care of books, or inviting them to walk on, whatever the case may be, they're going to invest in this young person. And they want to make sure that this young person is worth being invested in. And your admin, your coaches, your counselors, your support staff, the teachers, they are the athlete's best advocate. Our whole platform at FieldLevel is centered around the coach being the best advocate for an athlete. Making sure that your athlete is treating everybody with respect is going to make everyone else want to go to the ends and go over what's required to make sure that that athlete has a good name about them, and they're going to sing their praises to those college coaches. Next, kids are going to make mistakes. As I kind of wind this down, kids are going to make mistakes. They're young people. I'm not a parent, but I've had many years of experience coaching young people. They are young. They make stupid mistakes. They say things that are inappropriate. They do things that are wrong. And you know what? Is it okay? No, but they are opportunities for teaching moments. And this is an opportunity to teach these young people when they do make a mistake, when they do post something inappropriate online, they do respond a certain way, to sit them down and have that conversation with them. And if you, the parent, catches it, loop in the coach. And I'm not trying to tell you how to be a parent, but I do know that the coaches and the sports play a big weight in this whole discipline process of a young person. They will, if you threaten, hey, you say this again, you do this again, you won't be able to play a sport this week, you won't be able to go to practice, which means you can't play in the game that night. They're going to listen. That's going to be it's going to be a shock to them. They're going, okay, fine, I'll listen. And sometimes you got to get a coach involved. Sometimes it'll be more impactful. And I know as a young person, as part of my other story here is, I remember when I was young and I was super chatty and I was always talking back to teachers. And I had one teacher who was probably one of my favorite teachers I've ever had. And this guy, I remember I was spouting off at the mouth. I was talking back and being disruptive. And he knew my love of football. I was playing football. He knew my dad pretty well. He knew my football coach pretty well. And he stopped me right then and there. He said, Jason, you don't stop right now. I'm going to get your coach and your dad on the phone, and you won't play this Friday night. And my mouth went from bop, 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 bop to nothing. I was silent immediately because that played a big part in my life as a youth, as an adolescent, was playing high school football. And so I knew that teacher was not BSing around. I knew that he was very serious, and I took it very seriously because football played such a huge role in my life. And it was a beneficial thing for me that I learned moving forward, that sometimes you need to, as a coach myself, I've had to be a part of disciplining athletes because of things that they do at home or things they've done online or things they've done in the classroom. You guys will be surprised that when the parent and athlete are combined in an effort to basically be the best impact on a young person, how powerful that team can be in helping shape a young man or young woman in sports. So those are some miscellaneous things that I wanted to get across.